What's your brain? Let's take a peek. A little weird, a little chic. Not just thinking it's a show, predicting life as you go. Lollydabbing through this life with Richard and Keri, brains in flight. It builds your world, it makes things new. Turns out you shape meaning too. Brains aren't born to just react. They build your world, that's a fact. No command center, no set fate, just wiring up what seems great. Lollydabbing through this life with Keri and Richard, thoughts ignite, laughs and wonder, every hue. We're here to share it all with you. So hit play and join the fun. Your brain's been working since day one. From silly to deep, it's quite a view. Lollydabbing through with you.
So constructed emotion is the idea that your emotions aren't given. They're not. It's not the case that there's a ready-made circuit available in your brain, and when it's triggered, you get this cascade, this suite of characteristic patterned responses. Instead, your brain makes emotion as it needs it on the spot using a set of all-purpose ingredients. So the same brain networks that make emotion also make thoughts and memories and perceptions. An emotion is basically your brain's way of making sense of the sensory changes that are going on inside your body in relation to what's going on around you in the world. So an emotion is your brain making meaning of sensations from the world. It's not your reaction to the world, it's your construction of what the world is, what your body is like in the world as it appears to you in that moment.
I couldn't find the right buttons.
Couldn't find the button.
Chad, why is there an echo?
It's muted here.
You got some sort of... I can hear myself. Are you sure?
Settings, audio, echo cancellation's off. It's just stereo audio like I always have. I didn't know. You might be hearing a slight echo from my microphone hearing my headphones. It's possible. They're open backs.
Possibly.
So,
that's okay. We'll power through. It's going to be fine. Chad, you can't say that. The only reason why I'm able to do this show is I made a promise. Oh, and I'm going to be exiled until y'all stop saying it. Each time it's said, I'm kept for another week. I'm just saying. Anyways, if you don't know what we're talking about, you'll have to go back and watch last week's show of... Nope, I'm not allowed to advertise it. Anyway, I'm being told by my captor. It's a long story. You'll catch up later.
There's
that being said,
agreements. It's complicated. It's very
it's complicated.
folks. As you would
It's
expect with large
complicated.
corporate entities, it's complicated. Yeah.
It's either that or we're gonna have to
right
take.
now, it's best that we just let you draw your own conclusions for the time being.
Yes, thank you, Velcro. That being said, today is lesson 5. Your brain secretly works with other brains. And that key idea is that your brain isn't just running your body, it's co-regulating with other people's brains all the time. So, an example of that, we've kind of touched on it, I think, before, but I'm going to just refer back to my grief experience and kind of my epiphanies that I had going through that, and what losing somebody that has been significant in your life, whether, through a parasocial sort of way or through a, actual like family member or friend or known person, they help you to co-regulate yourself, because our brain's job is to manage our internal systems, and it's one of the ways it does that is by allostasis, which is keeping blood pressure, energy use, hormones, heart rate, etc., but also through interpersonal allostasis, where it can draw on the people around us in order to kind of shortcut that and make it worth less of your body budget to be able to maintain a certain state in your body. So we are social creatures, which we know, but it's not just about social connection in the sense of social connection for the hell of it. We need friends or whatever. What we need is social connection is actually a biological need that is on par with like food, water, sleep, etc. It's not just like a metaphor for like we need friends. It's physiological. Our brain actually runs more efficiently when it's around other people that are supportive. Whew. That was a lot of stuff. So let's see. I got lost there for a minute. But to refer that back to grief, when we lose somebody, our body is dysregulated because they were providing for us in a way that we didn't maybe consciously understand. And even if they're not necessarily in close proximity, we have that cognitive dissonance of not really knowing where to kind of pull on those elements that are missing. And because they're kind of such nuanced and buried things that this other person provides. Dogs, I'm talking. I can't mute myself. You're just going to have to stop. Hold on.
Shut the fuck up before I kill you! Tear your fucking heads off and shove them up your ass! Oh, no, wait.
Good puppies. Yeah, I didn't go that far. I know. I just do the girls growl.
It's just me being me.
Yes, thank you for the voiceover, Richard. Anyway,
I don't like dead air.
Right, me neither. Me neither. My dogs don't either, apparently.
All right, anyway, back to your topic.
So back to what I was saying about grief is when we're have that cognitive dissonance of somebody not being there, but our body and our brain believes they should be there to help us regulate. And we don't know specifically, we don't always know all the ways in which somebody has helped us with this interpersonal allostasis. Allostasis? Nope. Allostasis. In other words, we don't know what they've been doing to help us regulate our nervous system in one way or another. So when you think about being a social creature, and when you think about how, in ways in which other people have helped you regulate yourself, what kind of comes to mind for you? I'll yell at my dogs again.
No, that's okay. You can do that. I'll have a dissertation here. For me, I'm a very, oh boy, how do I explain myself? I am a super social guy in an out situation. If I go to an office function with business, or I'm at a dinner, or I go out for karaoke, or even just for dinner with friends at a local place, it's in public. I am life of the party performer, very gregarious. That's the me that comes out. But when I'm here at home, not around people, I'm very, very solitary and very happy to be by myself. So there's two of me, and that is a stark contrast for me, at least at this point, to evaluate the fact that I do crave that contact, because otherwise, why would I act so much differently in a positive way if that wasn't something that I enjoy or need or want in some way, whether intentionally or subconsciously? I don't think it really matters at this point on that particular thing. So there's two of me, but I definitely feel like there is an interpersonal connection that comes with being social creatures. And if we don't have any interpersonal connections with any other beings, we suffer. There is, because the only reflection we have is our own.
Right.
And that can be pretty deep, and I know it goes a little off of the topic here, but I thought it was important to say, because I actually had a cognizant thought about this particular subject.
Well, and I kind of, I mean, I totally relate. First of all, I relate to what you're saying, because
Thank you, Andy.
I feel the same thing. Speaking of our interpersonal connections, before I go on my rant, let's say hi to the chat and thank them for being here to help us regulate our nervous systems, because we clearly do this in order to have an interpersonal relationship with the people that show up. So
absolutely.
Hit us with some of those names, Mr. Richard.
My goodness, we have, let's just go up here to the top, because we can. I've got that. We've got Robbie Stengel in there with the Beavers first. Then we got a little bit of Chad Freeman. Kia ora, my friend. Thank you very much for being here. Then you got to go down through the chat, and there's some things in there about Robbie's got herbs in his dash and stuff. I don't know. And then some dude named Mikey came in. And Chad said, oh, look, Chad said hello to me. And then we got Independent Mini United that popped in. And it's just, everything is just wonderful. Am I echoing?
Well,
in chat?
I don't hear you echoing. I can hear myself a little bit, but...
two Falcros. No, sorry, I forgot what I said. Yeah.
Oh,
I do actually read the chat. I had just forgotten what I said. I was in a different space now. See,
I know. I switched gears. I'm just trying to wake y'all up.
Over here is me talking to chat, and then over here is me being with Keri. So I kind of went here and forgot what was happening over here. That's how much I like you guys.
I just have short-term memory loss. I'll admit it.
Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Yes, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing it out, Indy. I appreciate you, and I appreciate everybody else for showing up. And
all the lurkers too.
All the lurkers. I know you're lurking. I know you're lurking out there.
You know who you are.
Yeah, you know it. All right. So. So, like I said, I agree with you and I've thought a lot about being solitary. And I think that, I could be alone, but I need my pet. I need my doggy. And if I didn't have this particular doggy...
I don't have that connection anymore. So
I think
Yeah,
there's something
I
to
get
be
that.
said. I think we do co-regulate with our pets quite a bit as well.
It's still an interpersonal relationship, whether it's just
Yeah.
nonverbal communication.
Yep. Well, and when we dig into a little bit about what we can do for each other's nervous systems, is the words I'm looking for, then it makes a lot of sense why a pet also is included in that. Because, like, petting your dog can actually lower and slow your heart rate. And it's not just the action, it's their reaction.
Mm-hmm.
I just read your. I'm sorry. It's an ADD day. I just read your little tagline, looking for a touchy therapist. Lord help us. Lord help us all.
It's my mood. It's my mood.
It's a mood. It's a mood. But I do enjoy a sort of going out in public in those, like, kind of in performative sort of spaces. Like at work, it's kind of a performative thing. Singing karaoke is a performative thing. There is definitely a desire to get that sort of feedback. I definitely like I have to admit, I do like those sorts of spaces where I feel like I have a little bit more control. Like a lawyer, I don't want to be in a space where I'm not sure what the reaction's going to be.
Exactly.
Everybody, and then part of that was when I was younger, everybody said, "Oh, you're so social, you're so good around people, you're so good at, you should be, you're born leader." Like some of these really kind of heavy things that made me feel like I had to live up to that in some way. And once I gave myself permission to take space, to be alone, I was like, oh, I really like this. So it is a little bit hard for me to admit or to fully buy into this fact that I need other people. And I think that
I can stay with you there.
it is a little bit hard for me. Like, I think that my need for other people or my sense of community comes in a different way than I think other people kind of identify with needing community or needing to be social. I like my social time to be either really pared down or performative. Yeah, and a lot of that has just come with my comfortability to being alone with my own thoughts.
Well,
Sorry,
see,
I'm
I was
printing
never.
this thing out. It's taking forever. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it's just
There
it's
was
still
there
printing.
there was a part of me for a long time that did not participate in that. So to some extent, I'm still learning how to do that. To be with myself,
Yeah,
especially now that I live alone. Without
right.
the pet or anything. And that's not a woe is me statement. I'm not saying my life is bad or anything like that in that respect, but it's much, much different than it was 3 months ago. Much different. The dynamic of my life has changed
Well, and I think that
drastically.
I do that a little bit of human design reading, and a lot of that speaks to like auras and what we're kind of designed. I don't think it's one size fits all.
Oh,
Our
absolutely,
needs,
absolutely not. It can't be.
our
Otherwise, we'd all
regulatory
look, walk,
needs.
talk, feel, and like the same things.
Right. But I do agree with the fact, and this is kind of a throwback to what makes humans different from other mammals, is that our brains take so long to develop. A baby can't regulate its own body. It needs physical closeness, a heartbeat to sync with, eye contact, etc., to be able to develop. And I have a pretty radical theory on SIDS, which I apologize for anybody who has experienced that
Oh,
sort of loss.
can't imagine.
I can't imagine what it's like. And so this is, take this as like a super cognitive, I haven't experienced it myself, grain of salt. I really think that some babies may require closer heartbeat at night in general. And maybe it's this lack of interpersonal allostasis. And I'm not saying that people with cis babies don't hug their babies enough or whatever, or that they were bad parents
Right,
in any way.
that's a different subject. That's
Yeah.
not.
What
We're
I'm
talking
saying
about
is-
correlation between this and that, not
Right.
the other stuff in between is good
And
or bad.
that some babies may have more needs. Everybody parents for the first time. I don't care how many kids you have.
Don't come with a book.
You
They do
figure it
not
out
come
as
with
you
a damn
go.
book.
Humans are all very unique. That goes for babies. Babies are all very unique. Some babies might just need more heartbeat time. And it's something that I've thought about, especially when it comes to this sort of idea that a baby is not born to regulate its own bodies. It's simply not. That is a fact. It's not born to regulate its own body. It needs human contact to be able to learn to regulate its core like functions, blood pressure, energy use, hormones, heart rate, etc. You know, and so that's, I mean, just something that has walked across my brain and thought to myself, I wonder if there is some babies need to co-sleep, for instance, which is a very hot topic, very controversial. And I'm not saying that not saying it's one size fits all. I think some kids can survive and be just fine with loving parents and not co-sleep. But I also think some babies are born needing more of that.
I think that correlates to adulthood too. We grow up to have different needs in that respect. Some people can go months, if not years, with zero contact from anybody. People that live in very, very rural areas, Northern Territories, Arctic Circle, things like that, there's nobody to see.
Right.
You're where you're at for the season, and
humans have survived in those in such.
And
I don't think it's for
there's
everybody.
Other people that are like, oh no, I got to live downtown where all the action is, because they thrive on the environment and that interaction and that energy that comes from that whole inner city area. And babies, I can see the correlation there. Babies being the same way. One that needs more hug time and one that needs less hug time might grow up to be those exact beings, if there's not some other physiological problem that interferes.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of myself. I breastfed and co-slept with my kids. It was a thing. That's what we.
And I want to acknowledge Robbie's comment too. I've been peeking at it. Yes, some pets do talk to you. So saying nonverbal communication was not completely correct. It was it's more
their heartbeat, their breathing,
it's their presence, their aura, I don't know how you want to say that. Their meow, their bark, their
literal physical attributes, that they provide you that helps you co-regulate.
Yeah. It's just not in English. It's in the language that you developed with your pet. So I wanted to acknowledge that, because he is right. Some pets do talk to you.
And everybody has like a sort of rhythm that they live their life in. And for me, I feed off that.
You just stopped lurking, Dirk. Just
Lurkin'
throwing
Durkin.
that out there.
Lurkin' Durkin is
Lurkin'
in his
Durkin's
house.
not happening anymore because he's out. He's out. He came out into the light. Hello, Dirk. Welcome.
Right. Have you ever gone to work with a coworker that is calm compared to a coworker? Then you go to work the next day and you're with a coworker who is who can make your nervous system kind of spin out just by being in their presence.
Their personality is just that way. Yes.
Yep. And it's. I tend to be really hard on myself, like I'm allowing myself to be affected, but it doesn't matter how cognizant or aware you are of your. I vibrate at different levels around different people. And I've been really, at my current workplace, I've been really noticing that. I have a coworker who's upbeat and he jokes around and he has fun and we have a lot of fun together. And then I have another coworker who's just kind of deadpan and he makes me more nervous, in the sense of like, I'm kind of always like watching what he's doing out of the corner of my eye so I can fix it. But I think that he gets nervous and I feed off of that, and I'm just.
And that's entirely possible. That's
my performance kind of waffles with that. I can't just be
think that
rock
fits right
steady
in with,
Keri.
Yeah, I think that fits right in with this entire, our brains communicate with other brains kind of thing. It fits because if there isn't a connection, why would you feel different with one than another?
When I'm in the same environment doing the same tasks.
Right.
You know, and it's not
so
because
I agree.
they're
That's
good or
that's
bad.
a very good observation.
It's just because
It is.
It is. They have a different vibration level. They, some of them affect my nervous system in a negative way. Some affect my nerve, and it affects my performance, even though I am the same person who knows the same things, who can perform the same tasks. But my tasks aren't performed with the same sense of ease with one coworker compared to another coworker.
I
and
completely
it doesn't
understand.
matter it doesn't matter how I try to set myself up for success or prepare for the day it's just like it's also not their fault. They can't help it. But it's also not my fault, and I think I've spent a lot of my life feeling like it was my fault that I couldn't perform at the same level. And the more I relax into that dance, the better I am.
Guilty.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, I thought you were raising your hand. I was like, yes, Richard.
I was raising my hand, but the hand was being raised to say guilty.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. I'm not trying to say that nobody's scorn or thing doesn't affect me, but nobody is harder on me about anything than me.
Right.
Nobody. There is nobody I have wronged in my life and done something terrible to that I now regret having done that they could punish me more for than I punish myself for mentally every day. And that's hard to overcome.
It's part of the human condition. I truly think that unless you're a sociopath or a psychopath, you can't. You give a shit about how you move through this world. And I mean, some of it, sometimes I've been blindsided, not realizing that I've done something to make, but once it's brought to my attention.
Yep. I
Once it's brought to-
100%.
Then I see it everywhere, but that's also a cognitive bias, recency bias, It's a thing.
Yep. I was going to read something. Go ahead and finish your thought.
Oh, no,
It was
that
something I
was
wanted
it was
to read.
it was finished.
Oh, okay.
It was
See if
finished.
hopefully I can find it quickly here. There it is. This is from Understanding Narcissism by Elizabeth Shaw.
Okay.
I'm going to read the statement and then I'm going to make a statement.
Okay.
When you go from, how could they do this to me, to, I deserve to be treated with respect, honesty, and loyalty, it becomes all the closure you need in the respect of closure. But if you're the other side of that coin, if you're me.
Can you read that just one more time for me? I want to hear that just one more time.
Yep. And remember, the context is Understanding Narcissism.
Okay.
When you go from, how could they do this to me, to, I deserve to be treated with respect, honesty, and loyalty, it becomes all the closure you'll ever need.
Okay.
I believe this is being spoken from I have not read the rest of this text. This is just an excerpt.
Excerpt?
Excerpt.
Excerpt.
Yes. But how I'm taking this is from the person who is narcissistic. They're thinking, there's nothing wrong with me. These other people are fucking this shit up. I'm the best fucking thing that ever happened to this place. But these other you-hads here, they're idiots. But my perspective on this is I'm not narcissistic in that way. But I am a control freak, and there is some narcissism that goes with that. I look at this as when you go from, how could I do this to them, to, I don't deserve to be treated with respect, honesty, and loyalty, it becomes the antithesis of closure. It becomes the tearing open of the wound, because every time I say that to myself, it brings me down. And that's part of that negative thinking. And that's, I think, the social interaction that we get from others, that reflection helps with that. That's how we use others' brains because I did not get my internal good thoughts about myself from me. None of them. Those only come from externals for me. Because my tape is that negative, or was that negative in the beginning.
Yeah, I think that the idea of self-love, it's the nature of the nurture. Like you almost, I don't think that can be developed in a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you shouldn't need love from a specific person in order to love yourself, but I think that you're right in saying that you need these supportive relationships or examples of supportive relationships in order to kind of turn that inner narrative, even if they are brief or passing, or even if they're not like, yeah, I don't think it can be developed in a void or a vacuum. You literally, I mean, even if it's just like a cashier, like, oh my gosh, I really love that dress. Like, that helps.
Sure.
That helps.
It's a reflection that you don't necessarily see, or you didn't see coming, or you didn't expect. And it changes, it affects physiologically, it changes how you feel.
Especially if it's unexpected. Like I went out and I was wearing something that I had literally just kind of like thrown on. I was like wearing this dress thing, and I was like, well, I'm gonna wear some pants underneath it, and then I went and got food somewhere, and she was the lovely little 20-something. She was like, oh, I love this whole vibe, and I was like, oh.
Really? Okay, thanks. Because
right, and I just it was so sporadic and genuine. Like I could tell she meant it, you know, and I hadn't really thought about it, and it really kind of perked me up. It really meant something to me. Like I was feeling kind of like I didn't really care what anybody thought about what I was wearing, but when somebody pointed out that they liked it, I was like, well, this is great.
No,
you know,
it's 100%.
And that helps to tune that inner narrative so that I can be like, well, somebody's gonna like this vibe, even if I'm not like vibing in it. Like it is a vibe. It's a mood, if you will. So I think that we can kind of draw from supportive relationships. I think if we're creative, we can find supportive relationships in nuanced and small ways, as well as in like the big R sort of relationship sort of way, family, friends, lovers, etc.
Sure.
See our first 4 conversations about relationships. Because I think these brief interactions with people is helpful, even if they're not super intimate in any way or in depth.
A relationship with another person is a relationship with another person.
Yeah,
whether
even if it's
is
for 30 seconds or 30 years.
Yes, that part
relationship.
doesn't matter. And some relationships that we end up having, we don't think about how they're going to start or how long they're going to last once they have started. That just happens. It's not an intentional thing. Other than you like that person. But once again, I think that's part of the whole brain connection thing. You feel something, some kind of a connection, and it's not a physical thing. It's not a sexual thing. It's nothing like that. Keri and I have never been in the same physical space, not even close. I mean, we've been far enough apart that our auras ain't touched. Yet we share a connection when we talk. That has to be something other than physical or proximity or friends or anything else. Yes, we have some things that brought us together, but that's not what made the connection for us to go to here.
Well, and I think that too, what Lisa Feldman Barrett, just to kind of take it back around to the kind of core essence of this topic. What she's saying is it's not just like a nebulous thing. Our brains will actually mirror and synchronize with other people's states kind of automatically. And there is something to be said about making a connection with somebody where we've provided each other with sort of a neurological protective element by being able to have these conversations the way that we've been having them. And fun fact, people with strong social ties, and I don't know if I love that terminology. I think, I mean, I understand what's being said here, strong social ties. I just don't know if I'd consider myself as somebody with strong social ties. I have social ties that are meaningful. I don't know. There's just something that speaks to volume in that statement that I don't love. And
right.
I
didn't read the number into it like you do, but I see how you can.
Okay.
I did not hear that number in there, but I can see how you did hear that in there. Like that's a lot of.
That's a lot of people. It feels feels really overwhelming. I think about people that have like, church groups or groups like that they go to,
my
like
parentheses
sewing
are
groups.
Small.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, for real. But having social ties can lower risk of heart disease. You can end up with better immune function. You have faster healing time. You have longer lives, which I'm gonna call that a mixed bag too. I think a thought that has come during this conversation that I realized is when I didn't have. I love living in the city, but being alone in my apartment in the city. If that makes sense.
That makes sense.
But it makes it so that I can go out very easily, pop out, get an interaction at a grocery store, get an interaction at a walk in the dog park with other people that I don't know very well. Just brief, passing and get that kind of co-regulation in a very non sort of intimate way, in a very casual manner, right? But the more time that goes on in my relationship with my partner, Mike, I find myself wanting to be out of the city because I do have like a safe place. And, he feels like I need less interaction with casual people because I have a strong social tie with one person, or on the flip side of that, having frequent social experiences with strangers. Which sounds weird, but also there's something about being by myself in a crowd that I absolutely don't hate. As a matter of fact,
there's an anonymity there that you get to have.
Right. There's a sense of control.
Yep.
I've never been one of those girls who would get together with girlfriends and like go out to the bar together and all ride in the same car and all like have the same experience and all leave together at the same time. I'm like, I will meet you there. I don't want to sit and get ready. I don't want to relinquish. My car is going to be in the parking lot, or I'm calling my own cab to take me home. I don't. When I decide, all the things there.
Yep.
And so when I hear strong social ties, I think about little gaggles of women. No offense to women who like to gaggle, but I am not one of those women. And I think that I am not. And I think there is a lot of societal projections that happen when it comes to how women are supposed to gather or behave. And I can only give that perspective because I am a woman. But I think it's a little different for men. Men are less expected to kind of cluster in social experiences.
Not in the same way. I mean, this summer I'll be going to bike nights. I'll get invited to a bike night. I go there alone. I don't go there to socialize. I might look at a few other scoots out there and dink around, maybe get something to eat while I'm there, whatever. But I don't know anybody there. I'm not going there for a social connection with a particular person. And I think that matters in what you're going to take from the situation. You can't just walk into every situation and make a connection. Sometimes you're just going to be solitary there. That was your intent, and you're just going to be solitary. So
just
the fact that you
experiencing
would
the
go
experience.
to a public event that has a lot of people at it doesn't necessarily mean you want to or are going to make any kind of a cognitive social connection with anybody. You may
Right.
walk around, look at the stuff, nobody says hi or boo to you the whole time you're there, and you do the same.
I popped a question statement from Robbie up on the screen.
I saw that too, but I did not know how to respond. So,
Well, this is what I think that trusting somebody versus what's being discussed in this chapter about how we work with other people
hi, Dimebag.
are
Welcome.
like two different.
Good to see you, Darren.
Hi, Darren. Those are two different questions. Or two different states, I guess, because there's like, what Lisa Feldman Barrett is saying in this is that other people will co-regulate our body no matter what level of trust we have with them. Period. End of story. It's a physiological statement that she is making. Physiologically speaking, we mirror, we have neurological mirroring of the humans and the beings around us. Trust, I think, is a separate sort of psychological state as opposed to a physiological state.
Because what that makes sense, and I'm going to interject because I think what you're right, but you're talking about a breach of trust, and right now we're just talking about a mental, non-physical, non-emotional necessarily connection that can physiologically change you. So I don't think it's a good thing, but not the topic. It doesn't fit this topic. Exactly.
It's important. It's important to have.
It is
trust
absolutely. I'm not. I mean,
in
and
relationships.
I think there's stuff like this that'll come into these conversations that we're having. I just don't think that particular statement fits here because we don't have to trust anyone in the room to feel some kind of a connection or a assimilation, as Robbie put it earlier, into that environment, because you do. And some people are better at it than others. But if you go, any environment you go into where there's others is going to change you and how you react and interact in that environment.
Yeah, her statement on interpersonal allostasis is that other people will regulate your internal systems, and you will help to regulate theirs. And it by regulate, your brain is running more efficiently when it's around supportive people and less efficiently when it's around non-supportive people, and it's actually helping like with your nervous system, your breathing, your heartbeat, your digestive, like all of these things are happening.
Yeah, your automatic things, subconscious things that your body does.
Yeah, the activities, it's like if we learn to not see our noses. That's not because they're not in our field of vision.
No, you can look at it if you want to.
If you think about it in that way, like we learn not to see how other people are regulating us, the same way we learn how to not be conscious of our noses. Yep. But we can look at. I mean, it's in our field of vision all the time. Like it's there. It's if I put my finger on it, it's in. I'm just it's the same.
Your brain
distance.
just learns to not see
cut it out because it's not essential, and it uses too much brain power to like see the nose every time we open our eyes.
It's completely unnecessary for you to see your nose.
And so I think it's kind of our brains have found this shortcut where it's unnecessary for us to understand the emotional, neurological, and biological ways that we are regulated by other people, because it's not essential for us all the time. And I think sometimes it goes out of whack. Just like everything in human experience, it goes out of whack, and we can be hypersensitive to things that maybe I wonder if that's what social anxiety is about, is we become hypersensitive to certain aspects of being in social environments. And that's like a dysregulated, we're noticing things that we're looking at our nose, for lack of a better way of explaining it.
No, that's a good analogy. At least I think it is. I have a friend who has agoraphobia, and she just doesn't do well in public situations. It's a difficult time for her.
I'm waving to Justine because I haven't seen her in so long. Hey, Justine!
I just saw her a little earlier today, but it was right at the end of Jade's show, so anyway, hi Justine, good to see you. Thanks for coming by.
Well, I think there's other factors that contribute to agoraphobia, and I think there's different levels.
I'm sure there is, but I can see the similarities between what you were talking about and her agoraphobia. Not that it's the same, or that the two are necessarily in context connected here. But
she's just become socially dysregulated in some way that's easier for her to stay home.
Yeah,
and that's fair. No. That's fair. I know that my daughter struggles with anxiety, and it's like all the steps that it takes to leave the house. It's not that she doesn't desire to be outside the house. It's just this like process of getting there that like just implodes. Right. She's been better. She's been doing it better lately, and she's working her way through it. But it is really a lot of. It takes a lot of her body budget. And that's a dysregulation of understanding the sort of neurological mirroring that is happening when she's socially out, and also like that internal monologue. It's like a chicken or egg problem. She needs to get out and be around people in order to feel better about herself, but getting there makes it hard because she hasn't been able to get out and be around people who are like a pro-social, positive social space for her. And I can empathize to the fact of like to a point. But there again, that's how like being in performative sort of environments kind of helped me reinforce my inner monologue of like the positive inner monologue. Whereas she can't get out enough to be able to get into those environments where she is able to feel like she is performing in a way that is received well. And I'm older. I know myself a little bit better. I kind of know where those spaces are where I can get that sort of positive feedback, no matter what, and that whether or not I just know where to go to find that. And I think that young people today really struggle with that. They have a hard time finding those spaces. I mean, the internet is mean, and a lot of their experience right now is digital, and people are so very brave with their negativity. And I love the internet because we're
using the internet right now, so I can't say that I don't love the internet either.
I've met so many good people.
Yeah, I've met some weirdos too. I'm sorry to hear about that. I hope your aunt was able to overcome at least the worst of it. That's my friend's been working hard for years to do this, and it's tough for her. It really is, and it affects every aspect of her life. So, but I wanted to say, because I don't know how long Justine's going to be out there, I will be sending you an email later. There's 99.9% chance that I'm going to do a karaoke tonight, starting at somewhere between 8 and 9 o'clock. I have not decided the time, and that's Pacific time. Hello, Paul. Welcome. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. So anyway, I wanted to say that. So I will be sending out a few invites to that. I am going to try and only do it for 3 hours so I can go to bed at a normal-ish time, but that's to be determined. I don't it's one of those days where I don't want to, so I'm gonna because I don't want to. Does that make sense? Part of my live intentionally thing. I'm going to have fun with some people I know doing something I enjoy doing.
There you go. There you go.
So-
just, some days you're just in a funk and you just got to reach out to people, do something that you like to
Sure.
do, know that people you like are going to show up. Again, that's one of those sort of performative environments where you know that you can create a space in which you will have a positive
Right.
social
Give
experience.
myself a pep.
Yeah.
So to speak. It's something I don't, now that I've stopped focusing on the negative, and I don't think every single person I meet is trying to take advantage of me and every other person that they meet simultaneously. And it's just the way my brain works is weird sometimes. And the negative tape in my head extends automatically out for me. So when I'm having an off day and I'm not as strong to push out the negative thoughts in my tape, it makes it harder. And I need that positive to...
And just having some grace for yourself for having meh days. I mean, meh days are acceptable. Like I said earlier, I do human design, and we both have emotional waves. And there are days when we are going to be perkier, and there are going to be days that we just feel a little bit more meh. And that's just the reality of our design. That's how we move through this world. I think that's true for everybody. And I'll ask you, have you had enough to eat? You said your sleep was off, last night. All of these things can affect not your emotions so much, but your affect, your just general way of being today.
Right.
And I think that's
when
okay.
I sent you so when I sent you the message, I'm having a rough day for absolutely no good reason. I don't have a reason to have a rough day. I'm just having one. There you go.
And it's not. I think maybe reframing that away from being a bad or a rough day and just a low energy day is okay.
No, that's fine. That's why I interact with people now, and
Just having a mad day.
instead of before when I didn't interact with people.
And just know that the interaction, you might still feel meh afterwards, and that's okay. It might be 3 days of meh for you, and that's all right too. We still love you, Richard, even if you're like meh. Meh.
Thanks.
So we're coming up on the hour here, and the key takeaway from this chapter, which was entitled, let me scroll back up to the top because we've talked about so many things that I have forgotten what the name. Lots of things. So lesson 5 was Your Brain Secretly Works with Other Brains. Again, we are talking about the book 7.5 Lessons About Your Brain by Lisa Feldman Barrett. She has a lot of YouTube talks and whatnot. I threw some of the links in the chat so you can get there easily, but you can always throw it into the search engine and hear what else she has to say. Probably great talks that I haven't even come across yet, because I find more all the time. She's constantly putting out work. She's a neuroscientist and a psychologist, and she does a lot of studies around emotions. She is currently the leading authority on emotional science. And so that's the book we're referring to when we say this is lesson 5, Your Brain Secretly Works with Other Brains. And that's to help run your body. And we kind of went off into some emotional, social things. But the key takeaway is that your brain is not an island. It's part of a network of brains. Just like our brain is a network of neurons, our brains collectively are a network themselves, constantly sending and receiving signals. We are wired to connect. Wiring affects our stress levels, our immune systems, our mood, our health, our sense of identity. The best way to take care of your brain isn't just with alone time, it's with high quality, or in my case, structured relationships. And then also emotional safety is a need. And I'm going to say you can find some emotional safety by yourself or with a pet. You just really have to acknowledge that that's what you're doing. I think if you are alone and you dwell on aloneness as opposed to I am enjoying emotional safe time, you're going to feel lonely. Robbie says he's wired with contact points. Camellia joined us in the chat.
Hello, Camellia. Welcome. You have to watch us talking on the replay, though, because we're right coming up to the kind of wrapping it up. But we always happy to see you. And maybe you were lurking. I don't know. I'm gonna give you credit for that just in case, because
Credit
I don't
for
know
lurking.
everything.
But I like to pretend. I played a know-it-all on TV once.
Yes, there you go. Yeah.
So
this subject is hard. I mean, it's a hard subject, and I'm trying, as I'm going through this, and I can't even tell you how many times I've gone through the chapters now, listening to them. Is I don't. Wow. I don't know how to apply this to myself in a non-emotional neuroscience type of manner. And I'm not trying to be a smart aleck with the whole psychobabble thing that I tease you with when I say that. I mean that in a cognitive, thoughtful way. I don't know how to not look at this without that emotional filter and then apply it to myself without it.
Well, let's do a quick recap, maybe.
Okay, that works.
So the half lesson was your brain is not for thinking. Thinking, especially thinking about emotions, is a secondary function that comes from your basic survival needs, and our brain is predicting and not reacting. So when you think about the fact that you're emotionally predicting as opposed to emotionally reacting, as a physiological response to the world around you, for me, that was the clearest path to a sort of scientific understanding of what my thoughts and feelings are doing.
Right.
That was the half lesson. So lesson 1 was you have one brain, not 3. So you don't have like this underlying sort of caveman or reptilian or monkey brain
down
that
here
is
the monkey brain
that is separate from your emotional brain, which is separate from your human or logical brain.
You have a brain.
You have a brain, and all of these aspects, our core responses, our emotional responses, and our logical responses are all kind of working in Congress all the time. And we are not above other mammals. We are separate evolutionary sort of function. So that being said, this idea that you should make decisions from a logical space is a complete fallacy.
Yes.
You need your emotions to be able to make decisions, and that makes sense. That's a scientific sort of approach.
That makes sense.
Which leads right into lesson 2. Your brain is a network. Your brain is organized into a dynamic, ever-changing sort of network. Things are constantly being rerouted, and it's not like a fixed set of modules or processes like your computer has like a set process that's written in code, right? Or it's more like an airplane network where there's always airports that are doing construction and you could be rerouted to a different gate or rerouted to a different airport altogether. There's ones that do like local flights, and then you go to an international hub, and then you can go to a different country via other international hubs, etc. And then kind of a throwback to what I already spoke to, but lesson 3 was little brains wire themselves to the world. And that's what makes humans so unique in the way that we develop and how our brains operate, why people tend to think that it's our neocortex and our frontal lobe that makes us special. But really all it is that part of our brain takes the longest to develop compared to other mammals out there. And so little brains are not pre-programmed, but rather shaped by experiences. Infants are born with a brain full of potential connections that are developed by their social environment and experiences. And then lesson 4 was your brain predicts almost everything you do. Again, kind of a throwback to that half lesson. Instead of reacting to the world, we are trying to anticipate what will happen in order to save energy in our body budget, in order to have energy to be able to do what needs to be done to survive.
Okay.
And so like we can look so I guess what I'm getting at is you have to look at things, logical things, through emotional lenses, because our brain is always working together with these other things. You can't just divide out the emotional experience of your lenses just to be purely scientific, because it's not how humans work.
Well, that's fine. No, that's and that's why I asked the question. I made the statement when we started this series that I am as uninformed and new to this as many of the folks that are in the audience. You're really the leader here, and so that's why I just put this stuff out there. And yeah, I was going to mention what Paul had said, that it was very, very wise words, and that is in part of these lessons that she just recapped. That is actually in there when the prediction does not match the observation, and the what's the word?
Cognitive dissonance.
Cognitive dissonance. Thank you.
Yes.
That comes from that. So that was excellent, Paul. That's right in what we're talking about and where we're at.
Yes, it's not a passive processor. And there is, we talked about that in lesson 4, and then I played some clips. If you go back, I don't remember what episode. It was like 2. That was last week. What am I saying? That was last week.
Yeah, that was last week. So now we're doing 5. We lost a week because of the misfortune that happened, but that's what's throwing off your timeline in your brain.
It's not misfortune. We just decided we were trying to do 2 lessons per show, and then we realized that as we kind of got further into it, that wasn't going to happen.
That's too many. Sometimes, as you can see, sometimes one lesson is hard to pack into a show. So, So
upcoming, we have lesson 6, which is brains make more than one kind of mind. The mind is not a single thing, but a set of experience shaped by cultural, language, and individual history.
Here comes your Borg, Robbie. Are you listening? Yeah, that's your brain is a Borg. Yeah. I said it. Yeah, you should read this chapter, brother. You like to make the Borg jokes, but your brain is a Borg, 100%.
Variation and thought and perception is normal, and there's no single correct way a mind should function. You know how people say it's common sense? No such thing. I'm going to just say, let's end that trope right there, because there is no such thing as common sense. So the next time you're like, well, these people have no common sense, understand that the sense that they have comes from the environment in which they've existed up till this point, the education that they've received, the experiences that they've had.
Yep.
Exactly.
You'll find somebody that's had a much more sheltered existence than someone who has lived on the street. And the person that's lived on the street is going to have many more capabilities that the person who was sheltered does not. Yeah. Simply because of the environment in which they exist and were raised.
And having different minds, I think, is pretty fucking obvious, for one. And I think there's pros and cons to that. It explains our differences in our personalities, our emotions, our mental health. I think it explains our different conclusions or problem solving abilities. Like, there's no right solution to a problem. There's only a solution that works for us. Problems are just puzzles that need to be solved, and we all got to kind of solve our own individually, as well as, kind of figuring out some of these problems we have collectively. And I think that we could really address a lot of these surface issues by understanding that I don't know if I want to go there. There are the social, large social decisions that are made by a very small group of people. And we really need to make sure that we are figuring ourselves out so that we can give input into these decisions from a larger base of people.
Very well said. Very well said. Very well said.
And I
believe everyone in our audience has the cognitive ability to understand what you just said.
Which is why I love this book, because it gives me this sort of internal framework for being able to express and explore needs that aren't being met. and how to express that in a way that is positive and a way that is forward. I'm not going to say positive. I'm going to say forward moving, as opposed to ruminating. And that's why I love books of this nature, and that's why we're going to explore lots and lots more in this way, because I think once we understand kind of our own internal power from a physical standpoint and a metaphysical standpoint and a potential, like a potentiality standpoint, we can understand the effects that we can have, and it helps us kind of create space for all types of people once we kind of unpack ourselves from these different perspectives.
I don't disagree with that at all.
Anyway, we are at 1 minute, 5 seconds. Do you have any last thoughts? You said you might be doing some karaoke later, so
Yep. Between 8 and 9. Just if you have notifications turned on, watch for something to pop up in the next couple hours. I'll decide what time I'm going on. Once again, specific time. It'll either be 8 or 9. I'm going to try and run it for 3 hours. It is an invite only, but it is also an open panel. If you have friends or you want to participate in some way, please feel free to come along and join into the chat. You do have to subscribe to my channel for 5 minutes in order to get in the chat.
as I learned the last time you did this.
Yeah, well, and that's not why I said that. But
no. But I'll own it. It's fine. It's fine.
But yeah, so I will be sending out some invitations. So if you've got an invitation from me before, you'll probably get one tonight. There's no onus, never an onus to come on. And I don't care if you want to read some poetry, sing a song, play your guitar, jump up and down and show us your jump rope skills. It doesn't matter. As long as you're not doing something hateful or dumb that's like dangerous, stupid, then you can come up and participate. So have a camera and some decent sound. That's it.
Oh, and even though we were wrapping up, I really want to address this. Emotions are experienced in the body and the brain before the mind takes notice, and then the mind will tend to... I could talk all day, Paul. Stick around, because I will. I go there.
Yeah,
I go there
back.
often. I go
love
there
this
often.
kind of input from the chat. This is what we hope for. So thank you, everyone, for being here.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely. You know what? There's a couple
have
other
this one.
things. A couple other things that I want to say. Falcro is looking for a job, y'all. So we're gonna put some positive vibes out there for him to find
You
a
need
job. And if you have something that you need Falcro's particular talents for, he is open for employment. The open sign is on. I just, listen, if you don't say it, we don't.
It never hurts to say the words. You are 100% right. Thank you, Keri. Thank you very much.
He is a multi-talented soul who I'm sure has things to offer to this community in one way or another. We just don't know what those are yet. So feel free to contact Falcro, aka Richard Manning, if you have some sort of employment that he could do. You live in the Oregon area. I'm not going to dox you particularly, but even in person. That being said,
I see Lord Spike out there. Thanks for coming by, brother. Always good to see you.
Yes.
Always good to see you. Yeah, this is my other side, my non-joking singing. Well, I joke, but not the same as I do when I'm doing the karaoke. So thank you for coming in, hanging out. If you want to come back and listen more, we're just chatting and talking. And we didn't say this week, so I'm going to say it before you put the outro up. Okay. We are not professionals. We are not telling you how to live your life or what is right or wrong. If you need help, please seek help. Talk to somebody. Ask somebody. It's what I did.
Absolutely. It helps to get introspective and find the right person. I think that's a big thing. I think we all too often jump into these things and just assume everybody who's been to college is the right person, and that's not necessarily true. You got to find somebody that can identify with you and your experiences, because common sense is not common. Also, I guess I'm going to throw this out there. One of the things I've been starting to do in my spare time is I've been working on voiceover things. So if you guys have anything that you want voiced over, this is my open sign for that. I've been doing some auditions. I've been doing some extra classes, working on my sound, etc. I love to sing, but also I love to put voice to things for people. And so that is a side jam that I am doing. I am open to be hired for voiceover stuff. And listen, all that said, this is not for monetary gratification. We do this because we love to have these conversations. But I think that those are aspects of who we are and what is going on in our lives. And I'm glad that you're all here to share it with us.
Yes.
As a part of our interpersonal allostasis community.
There you go. Used all the words. Yeah.
All the words. All right, y'all. We're 10 minutes after time. I'm going to put up this outro.
Thank you all for hanging with us. Love you all
Thank you for
so
coming.
much.
Indy, Camellia, Lord Spike, Paul, appreciate it. The real Justine.
Or Robbie, the real
Robbie
Justine
Stingle.
Kirkpatrick. Yes, so many. And Robbie, if you want to scroll up that chat, Robbie put a link to a new song. And I listened to it. It's pretty good.
Yep.
So.
And Eimer Huckleberry joined us briefly.
Yes.
So thank you, Eimer.
Thank you,
Eimer Huckleberry. Appreciate
I'm
it.
your Huckleberry. Yes, indeed.
And
Yep.
Dirk the Lurker.
Yep.
You get credit for being here. I'm calling you out.
Peace,
To everybody. Good night.
The night says hello with the soft glow. We took a ride on this talk show. Stories shared and secrets low. Time to linger, but we gotta go. Voices faded with the moon's call. Laughter echoed down the hall. Thoughts that flew like paper dolls. Wrap it up and let it fall. Turn the volume down low, my friends. This chatter's come to an end. Till we gather again and again. Let these moments extend. In the quiet, hear the clock tick-tock. Words won't stop, but we'll walk the walk. Dream a little till the next talk. Out of time, let's unlock. Turn the volume down low, my friends. This chatter's come to an end. Till we gather again and again. Let these moments extend. In the quiet, hear the clock tick-tock. Words won't stop, but we'll walk the walk. Dream a little till the next talk. Out of time, let's unlock. Turn the volume down low, my friends. This chatter's come to an end. Till we gather again and again. Let these moments extend. With open minds, now we drift on the book of fine. Page by page until we bind. Sweet goodbyes, let's unwind.